Okay, so I want to welcome you to our Sports Administration Master's Degree Program info session. We are going to cover a lot of content and ultimately hope this will help you determine if our program is going to be a good fit for you. My name is Elisa Milang. I'm an enrollment advisor here at the University of Miami, the UOnline division. If you decide to apply for the Sports Administration program, one of our enrollment advisors, including myself, will help you throughout the application process to ensure your application is complete before submission. We have a lot of content to cover tonight, like I stated earlier, and I hope that you find this information helpful for you and will ultimately help you decide. This information session will be about 45 minutes in length. A recording will be available after this session. We will have the Q&A available for you guys to ask any questions, and we'll try to get to as many as possible. If for whatever reason there's questions you have after, you can always contact myself, Elisa Milang, or one of our enrollment advisors, or you can call the number below. We want to make sure that this session is specifically geared towards you and for you. So again, any specific questions, just please go ahead and ask them in the Q&A box. Thank you all for joining us this evening. I'm thrilled to be here with you all. We have our faculty and alumni joining us tonight. I will be going one by one, introducing them, and they will tell you a little bit about themselves. First up, we have our Professor of Sports Administration, Dr. Wendy Dees. How you doing, Wendy?
Good. Thank you, Alyssa, for moderating this for us. And first off, I want to say to everyone joining us this evening, thank you so much for taking the time to consider the University of Miami for your online graduate program. We're honored to have you here tonight, and we want to thank you for considering our program because we know you have so many options out there for your graduate education. So again, thank you for being here tonight. I'm Dr. Wendy Dees. I'm the Graduate Program Director for our UOnline Masters in Sport Administration. I'm also a professor in the program. So if you end up applying to our program and getting accepted and joining us, you'll also have me for 2 courses in the program. I teach our courses in sport administration, or excuse me, sports marketing and sports sponsorship in the sport administration program. And those are not only my teaching areas, but my areas of specialization in research and in the industry. So again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Wendy. We also have Brandon Harlan. He's a player engagement coordinator for the New York Giants. Unfortunately, I am a Jet fan, but no hard feelings, no hard feelings. Brandon, are you an alumni, graduate? And if you can tell us a small bit about you.
Yeah, New York sports is tough to root for, so it's cool to work, root for the Jets right now. Anywho, for me, yes, I'm alumni. I graduated this past December from U of Miami. And again, like she mentioned, yes, I'm currently the player engagement coordinator for the New York Giants, going into my 4th year. And I'm sure we'll talk, more about what that may, be, or if anybody's interested a little later on. But definitely a great program. And I think you guys will learn a lot tonight.
Thank you, Brandon. So let's get started here. I know that I asked you to give a brief introduction to each one of you. For Wendy, I just want you to go a little bit more in depth about your role at the University of Miami and how you interact with our online masters in the sports administration students.
Sure, absolutely, Alyssa. For our UOnline Master's program in Sport Administration, the first thing I'll let everyone know is that this program is absolutely designed for working professionals who eventually want to transition and work on the business side of the sport industry. So this master's program was designed with you in mind. We have a lot of professional students that are working really hard, just like Brandon, or have families and can't be on campus with us in our traditional program. But we wanted to bring access to the same curriculum and the same faculty and the same wonderful alumni network to everyone, but in a format that would be very accessible for working professionals. So you can see the curriculum on the screen. The program is pretty standard in terms of what you'll find in the industry right now for master's programs. It's a 30 credit hour program, so 10 classes, 3 credit hours. And you see there we cover all the main business principles that you'll encounter if you work in the front office of any sport organization in the industry right now. So we cover marketing, management, law, finance, ethics, communications and media, the globalization of sport, social issues in the sport industry, which is huge right now. So all of these classes are designed to give you a full arsenal of business training so that you're ready to go straight into the sport business industry after this program. It's also designed to be completely applicable or practical. So rather than a lot of master's programs that are theoretical or research in nature, we're located here in the city of Miami, which is a huge global professional sports city. So we train our students on the practical side of the industry, learning all the cutting edge knowledge and tools and examples, the type of education that will make you ready to jump into any front office after the program and, be ready to work in today's sport industry. We make the classes as applicable also as possible. All of your assignments, all of your projects, all of your uh, interactions with your students, the case studies that you do, everything that you turn in for class will be something that is connected to the industry and helps train you and give you that applied knowledge. And we also try to be as accessible as possible to you as well. So not just myself, but all your faculty are available to interact with you, answer questions for you, Zoom with you. We try to get to know you as best as we can from a distance. Brandon is here with us tonight. He was just my student not long ago. He's absolutely incredible, not only as a student, but as a professional, as a human. I got to know him really well, and we're so proud of him as an ambassador from our program. And he'll talk about the wonderful job that he has in the industry and how our degree has maybe helped him in his role. But we absolutely try to make this a program that's going to be one that trains you to go straight into the industry if that's what you desire right after you graduate.
Thank you. And for Brandon, just to get your input, can you tell us, to go a little bit in depth about what you're doing now, but tell us what ultimately attracted you to come, to pursue a sports administration master's degree, especially at the University of Miami.
Yeah, no problem. Again, so I'm currently the player engagement coordinator for the New York Giants. It's one of those jobs where I have trouble at times describing what it is because it comes with so much. It's an amazing job. um, but it's one of those jobs where essentially I'm like a in-house agent for the players. So of course the task of an agent is to make sure that their player and the person that they're representing has everything that they need both on and off the field. I'm essentially that, just within the building, and have, much easier access. But some of the things that I do is making sure that the guys are, finishing their education. Since we're talking, about education, a lot of guys, they may have been a first round draft pick and left their, education on the table to pursue their dreams in the NFL. Like, hey, how can we get you back into school? How do we handle marriage or a relationship while you're in the NFL? Being a father, being a husband, how do we manage that? How can we help with those things? And then, of course, yes, athlete, money, millionaire, whatever it may be, you're still a human. You still have to address those things on a day to day. And at times, you're in a facility 8, 9, 10 hours a day. Like, how do you take care of that? And that's where I come in. So I have a very, very like personal relationship with, all the guys, and it's amazing, of course. Um, but I essentially handle their business, and try to help out and be, somewhere, beneficial to them, with their off the field and on the field, efforts. In terms of the University of Miami, why I chose it, why I decided to go back to get my master's, for me, again, work for the Giants, and one of my coworkers is actually a former player. If anybody's in here who's, thinking about going to U of Miami online, you may know Jesse Armstead. He's a former, he's a Hurricane himself. And he went there, and where my desk is, he always plays a prank and puts like the U of Miami flag on my desk. But I started having an honest conversation about, furthering my education. And he brought that up, gave me great reviews and told me to look into it. And that's kind of how I ended up with University of Miami, but also doing my own research. Just seeing that, again, I'm always on the road, traveling. I have a pretty busy schedule, and I definitely don't have the time to, go to a course and sit in person. So for me, finding something that was online, but also able to work around my schedule, at my own pace. Of course, you have your deadlines and everything, but you knew exactly what you needed to do before it was the actual due date, which helped me out a lot. So those are some of the decisions that, that made me choose Miami over a few other options that I had. And then it was great for me also. They gave me off the rip, they gave me help on like my tuition, gave me a scholarship. They waived my GRE waiver. They waived that for me, and they just made it super, super easy for me to pursue my education in the midst of a pretty busy uh, life for me. So University of Miami was super easy to choose for those reasons and many others.
And Brandon, since you were discussing your busy schedule, what can you give us an example, just to, for those that have joined us tonight,
Mm,
what your schedule, let's say, how would you incorporate your assignments, your commitment to this course in general, just for you to be able
mhm.
to complete it? What did that look like for you during the week while you were also working and your busy schedule?
Yeah. So for me, I think the way that all the instructors kind of laid the foundation for each course, it's not anything where you're going into the next week not having any clue or idea, what may be asked of you. You can get a preview of those things, and they'll let beforehand, like, hey, this assignment in particular may take a little bit more of your time. So plan ahead, plan accordingly. But again, I think it's amazing to just see your entire time within that course from day one. And honestly, before that, you kind of get an understanding of what it is that you're going to be doing, what it'll entail, and just the time and effort that you'll need to do it, in a right way. So for me, specifically, again, I work Sunday to Sunday. So I will always approach the new week like, okay, on Sunday night after a game, no matter if I'm on a plane traveling or, it was a home game and I'm at home, okay, what's coming up for the week? When is the due date? What's expected of me? And how can I incorporate that into my schedule? So sometimes for me, it was like, okay, right after practice, we got like an hour between meetings. I'll go ahead and knock, an assignment or two out, or, I may make some progress on a paper or something. Or it would be times, okay, bye week. That only comes once a week, but bye week, I took full advantage of that. Like, okay, this is a week that I have off, no work. Let's get as much of this knocked out as I can. And then just also for me, just being very transparent with, my employer, letting the Giants know, hey, I'm pursuing my education, furthering my education. And they were very understanding. So I found just pockets where, hey, I could do this instead of just sitting around watching TV, scrolling on my phone, or doing God knows what. I dedicated my time to that. And then not to say, hey, just use your professors all the time to like, hey, can you extend something for me? But it was definitely plenty of times where I was able to reach out to a professor and say, hey, this is my job. This is what it entails. Could I maybe have the deadline switched for me, or could I turn this in earlier or later? And they will always work with me. So just planning ahead, being proactive. Don't wait to the last minute. That I think that alone could, be beneficial.
Thank you, Brandon.
Mhm.
Now for Wendy, since we're talking about a busy professional like Brandon, and just the coursework and everything, um, what are the advantages of completing this program online, and how does the faculty make themselves available to the students to be able to ask questions or to have a discussion over an assignment?
Absolutely. So, Alyssa, I can answer that question. And then I also saw in the chat there were some questions about what areas of the industry the degree would prepare folks for. So I think that also kind of answers the question about the advantages. So the advantages of the degree are, number one, it's absolutely going to set you apart. There are so many programs now that offer sport management or sport administration at the undergraduate level, and a lot of people have that degree now. So having a degree at the master's level is absolutely going to set you apart. A lot of our UOnline folks are trying to transition from outside of the sport business industry into the sport business industry. So having this specialized degree is going to show that now you have the knowledge and the training and you're ready to, work in a front office because you have a specialized degree in that field and you're an expert. Yes, it will prepare you for any role that intersects sport and business. So I saw some folks asking, and I'm sure they're already like very impressed with Brandon what he's doing, as they should be. We brought like the MVP to you tonight for this webinar. So everyone's going to want to be the next Brandon Harlan, and I don't blame them. But yes, it can prepare you for everything from, football operations and agency and being in the front office for a sports team like what Brandon's doing. Some folks have aspirations of working in college athletics and being an athletic director at the college level or even the high school level. Absolutely, yes, it will prepare you for that because your role is going to be managing the front office of a high school athletic department or a college athletic department. It can prepare you to work in other types of agencies. So Brandon's working with players. But agencies now today assist players and teams and events with all facets of business, with their marketing, with their public relations. We have folks that are working on the finance side, helping athletes with budgeting or NIL deals. We have folks that are helping athletes with their community and their foundation and their nonprofit side of the business because so many of them are giving back to their communities. And there are folks that specialize in that side of the industry. There are all sorts of support organizations. There are a lot of sport businesses that work what we say on the periphery of a sporting event. So all of the suppliers and all of the intermediaries that help put on the events, they need a lot of sport business professionals to run those types of businesses. So again, anything that intersects business and sport, this degree will prepare you for that. And then for us as professors, our number one job is to make this the best student experience possible from a distance. And our philosophy has always been from day one with this program that Our online graduate students are our graduate students. So the number one thing I want everybody to know is that if you have any concerns about whether an online program makes you an online student, and here it does not. So my graduate students are my graduate students, whether I'm meeting with them in person on Tuesday and Wednesday nights when I teach on campus, or whether I'm meeting with you on Zoom from a distance, wherever you are, because you're in my online class. So you're a Miami Hurricane, you're a sport administration graduate student, and you're going to be an alum and a cane for the rest of your life, and you're going to have access to us wherever you are. So the one thing we don't want to happen with the online program is we always said we never want our online students to feel like they're on an island. You should feel like, you're connected to us, you're connected to your classmates, your teammates, to campus. So whenever students want to Zoom with me, I Zoom with them, or if they just want to pick up the phone and give me a call, I've given students my cell phone number if we need to meet off hours, whatever works for them. We're all on different time zones. The sport industry can be 24/7, and Mr. Harlan can tell you all about that. So if he's in the airport and we need to jump on the phone and just talk about something before he flies somewhere, we're here to meet with our students wherever they are. And to Brandon's point about flexibility, I would say we're much more flexible in the online program than we are on campus because our online students, again, are working professionals with families, with busy lives. They're not just doing their master's degree only like our on-campus students. And so, we have to flex with them. We have to pivot. What I will say is that for our online students, you just always want to reach out to your professor ahead of time with anything you need. If it's a classroom accommodation, you need extra time on quizzes or tests because you have a learning disability. If you have work or you have a family emergency, I've had online students text me and say I'm having a baby and I'm going to be behind next week or for the next 7 weeks or whatever. We have all sorts of things going on. It's called life. And when you're trying to do life and work and a graduate degree, that's extremely difficult. But we're very proud of our online students and we want to support them in that so they can get through their graduate education. And we hope that it changes the whole trajectory of their life. But we have to make some adjustments for our online students, but you just always want to ask your professors in advance. You want to give them notice. The only time that we have an issue is when we find out after something is due or after a grade is assigned. And then when people say, well, I need to go back and will you change a grade or can I do something from 2 or 3 weeks ago? That's a different story. If you let us know ahead of time, we can work with you and we can grant some flexibility. We still have to be fair and equitable to everybody in the class so that everybody has a fair experience. But yes, I will absolutely say that our online students and everything that they're juggling does weigh into our, decision to be flexible, to be sure and support them in the best way that we can.
Thank you. And I am seeing here a few other questions that came in and as you were speaking. Would this degree prepare well for player personnel in the NFL, or would that be more sports management? But as we have Brandon here, do you want to speak speak on that, Wendy?
Yeah, so I would say it absolutely does prepare folks for that. And I think Brandon may be better taking that question. But again, like I said, anything that intersects the business side of sport, the degree will prepare you for that. If there are specialty areas of the sport industry that you want to go to, all of the faculty, another thing I will say about the program that I will put us up against any other program for this reason. All of our faculty, have terminal degrees, which means they have the highest degree in their field, and we're all required to have that. But then we also all have industry experience. So I teach sports marketing and sports sponsorship because before I was in higher ed, I worked for a sports marketing agency, and I was on the marketing and sponsorship side. So I was helping market professional events for the PGA Tour, handling all the corporate partnership, the hospitality, all of the activation, all of the on-site and online marketing. So my background and my research interests come from the fact that I came from the industry. So everyone's got the highest degree in the field, but everyone has worked in the field and had a career in the industry. So if there's a specific area that a student wants to go into, there's very likely going to be someone on the faculty that worked in that area and can work with you on the connections that you need um, to access the industry. And I will also say, before I turn it over to Brandon, that our U alumni network is everything. So we have canes that work in all areas of sport at all levels of sport, both domestically and globally. We have a very international alumni network as well. And so not only can the professors help you, but what we do is we, you know, put out feelers in this very vast web of University of Miami Sport Administration alumni, and we get you connected with people in the area that you're interested in working in, so that you have those connections and you can make those inroads to the type of people that could hire you, or that could give you advice, that could give you mentorship, and also that have a vested interest in your success because they're canes themselves. So Brandon's a perfect example. He sat down at the desk of someone who was obviously a huge ambassador of Miami. The U is a huge brand and everyone's very proud of it. And even though he was giving Brandon a hard time, he ultimately convinced him to come to the University of Miami. And I feel like Brandon feels like that's a good decision now. But then I'm sure Brandon would also pay it forward. And now he is going to go out and harass someone at their desk with some U gear and flags. But then also in a serious way, tell them that this program and this alumni network is something that they would want to be a part of, and that's a worthwhile investment to take part in.
You're muted. You're muted.
Thank you. Do you have anything else to add, Brandon?
Um, yeah, a lot of it would just be, piggybacking. But like everything that, Wendy said is 100% true. Again, for me, although I was again, harassed to go to the University of Miami, but of course it was my own decision. Um, since my, graduation, since I've, completed my degree work at Miami, of course, like you inspire people when you accomplish things, most of the time. And plenty of times people, that I went to school at undergrad with, like, hey, like what would you do, or how did you decide on, picking Miami or just getting your master's in general? But when that conversation happens, I always bring up, the U of Miami online, because again, for me, it was such a easy experience. Like, of course, the coursework is what it is. Like, you have to, do those things and do them properly if you want to, excel and do well. But again, too many times were professors accommodating to me, and it was still within fair game. Like, it wasn't anything that, hey, don't worry about it, Brandon, we know you work at NFL. I didn't get any type of special treatment. But again, with them knowing just life, my job, things like that, they were always super accommodating. So anytime I have the conversation with people, I always bring up the University of Miami online, because that's how impactful it was to me. And I've discussed this with, Wendy plenty of times, like how she's helped me just outside of my job, with things happening in my personal life. Because again, as she mentioned before, life happens. And plenty of times with she there and other professors as well. And then again, I did see some of the questions just about like, hey, is this a degree or, you know, coursework that you could take and use to be in, you know, NFL personnel? Like, yes, again, like I'm living proof. Because again, you think about courses, you know, like the leadership course where again, I'm in a role where I'm engaging with the players day in, day out, and they have to be able to, you know, like trust me. Even some of my coworkers, like they have to be able to trust me with, you know, decision making, delegating, things like that. But on top of, you know, the leadership thing, you have to understand who you are as a leader, what your team consists of, what, you know, the, you know, different types of personalities and ways they accomplish things or get things done. And that was something that I think was probably one of my favorite courses because it was critical in my advancement, you know, here in my role here with the Giants. And I wouldn't have known those things or as in depth as it was broken down. For 7 weeks, I learned how to be a leader, what a leader looked like, what a leader represents, the different kinds of leaders. So that and many other things for sure would contribute and be, you know, beneficial to, you know, if you want to work in the NFL and player personnel, being, I saw someone say a coach, like, yes, it would be helpful. It's something amazing to add to the resume.
And I'll just add to that, Brandon, because I did see also in the chat, I believe it was Travion was asking about the law classes in the program. So not only the leadership courses being beneficial, but yes, absolutely. Anyone who has an interest in any area of sports law, the program also will help in that regard. Um, we don't have multiple classes in any particular area. Um, you have one class in 10 different areas to give you that broad overview. But yes, you do get that type of training if you're interested in being an agent. We have a lot of students that if they know they're going to apply to law school and they want to practice sports law, a lot of sports law students have what's called a gap year, where they have a year before they start their law program, and they're often recommended to continue studying, maybe do a 1-year master's program that complements their law degree. And this degree is absolutely one of those that sports law students choose because this gives you the business side of your degree, and then the law will help you with everything, you know, contractually, um, um, you know, and on the legal, you know, side of things. So yes, it will absolutely help you in that area. Also, one of our full-time faculty members, Professor Tori Feldman, she's our sports lawyer that's on staff. And she just came to us a year ago from Adidas. So she was general counsel for Adidas, and she specialized in marketing and NIL and athlete contracts with endorsements and sponsorships. So again, we also have a professor on staff that has already been in the industry for probably 5 to 7 years doing sports law at the highest level with one of the biggest global sports companies. And she worked for them when Adidas started their NIL journey whenever NIL came to fruition 3 years ago. So she was on the cutting edge of helping Adidas create all of their NIL strategy, and now she's on our staff. So again, you're just going to have access to faculty members and people that have been in the industry and have worked through all of the things that you are interested in, and they will take the time to meet with you and learn about what it is that you want to do and help kind of craft a strategy or journey to help you get there.
Thank you. And if we can go into more of the program itself, what do you consider the greatest strengths of this degree? This is going to be for Wendy, and then I would like to get a little bit of Brandon's input, so I'll switch the question up a little bit. But what would you consider the greatest strengths of this degree? And completing, and the biggest advantages of completing it online, besides the flexibility. We know the flexibility is always the biggest advantage, but besides that.
Yeah, I think the flexibility is definitely there, and Brandon talked about that. But I think some of the biggest advantages are the engagement and the interaction, not only with us, we've talked about that, but also I think it's important to talk about the interaction with your peers. So a lot of online programs are online so that universities can pack as many students as possible into classrooms online. And other programs might have 50 or 60 or 80 or 100 people in an online class. And at the University of Miami, again, our graduate program online is designed to mirror what you would get on campus. So we have 25 students or less in all of our classrooms. So you get to know your peers, and they become kind of like, I always, joke around, it's kind of like a big dysfunctional family. You get to know your peers really well. You go through this, year and a half long program together, and you go through those trials and tribulations together. But also, that's your very first network, the foundation for your first network in the sport industry. So everybody that you get to know, those 20 or 25 people that you get to know so well because you've gone through the program together, you've done projects together and assignments, you've had late nights, working on the program. Those are going to be 20 or 25 people that for a very long time that work in the industry. Those that studied with Brandon, first thing, they have a connection to someone who works in the NFL, one of the biggest, leagues in the world, that they can reach out to him for connections or advice. Same thing. Everyone that he knows in his program, if he's trying to get things done for his guys and he needs to reach out to someone that he knows and they work in a different industry that can help him or help him get his job done. Again, that's the foundation for your network. You also have us, obviously, and then you have all the alums that we can connect you with. I would also say that the types of ancillary services that we provide are also huge. So again, our online graduate students are graduate students. I'll give you one of these. So everything that we do on campus, our online graduate students get the information and get invitations to everything that we're doing. So even if you're online, anytime that you want to come to campus and be involved in one of our graduate activities, you have an open invitation to that. So we're getting ready to have our sport industry conference on campus at the end of March. All of our online students get an invitation to that. You can come spend the whole day on campus. We have 40 to 50 executives coming from all over the world to talk to our students, network, provide best practices, do panels, have a networking lunch and a happy hour. And all of our students are invited to that. We have an incredible partnership with the Florida Panthers, our Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers in the NHL. We're the official education partner of the Panthers, so our students get like first class access to everything in the front office with the Panthers. We have a current UOnline student that's interning in their front office, and we got her connected there, and she's working full time with the Panthers now while she's completing her online degree with us. We have other online students that we've connected to sport organizations here in South Florida when they've moved to the area. Some of our students have actually moved to the area while they were in the middle of the program because work brought them here or family, and we immediately got them, connected in front offices around South Florida. Anytime we have guest speakers on campus or online, we invite our online students to be a part of that. Our students come to campus for commencement and we celebrate them there. I think I might have like jumped out and scared Brandon in the middle of commencement and like either waved or kind of thrown myself into into the aisle at commencement to celebrate him when he was walking down the aisle at commencement. So there's just a lot of different ways that our online students come to campus and are a part of everything that we're doing. So if you are in the program, you will get invitations to conferences, networking events, speakers, mixers, anything that we're doing on campus, our online students are absolutely a part of. And I think that's what sets us apart. The small class sizes, the interactivity and engagement, the access to all of the campus activities, and then just being a part of the sport administration program. And again, not being separated as an online student.
Thank you so much for all of the wonderful information. And I thank you for joining us today. So I see a lot of questions about what is needed to apply. I also see some questions about scholarships, which although we may not offer scholarships, we do offer tuition waivers, and I've reached out to a few of you with my email. So please feel free to email me, and I can follow up with you and get a little bit more information. You will need your transcripts, initially your unofficial transcripts to complete your application, your most updated resume, a personal statement, which is just a little bit about you and why you're looking to do this degree. You will need 2 letters of recommendation, professional recommendations. Complete your FAFSA if you are going to take out any student loans or Graduate Plus loans, and complete the online application. We have the early admissions deadline coming up on Monday, March 10th. So you definitely want to try to get your application in as soon as possible. And thank you for joining us today. Your $300 deposit fee waiver code will be applied once you submit your application and documents by the early admissions deadline. Again, that is Monday, March 10th. And you can contact myself or anybody else on the enrollment advisor team by calling the number below. Or again, for those that have my email, please feel free to email me as well. Thank you, everyone.